Welcome to a brand new video, and in today's video I'm going to be working solely on relocating the battery from over there to the boot, and this is required because I don't have actually space for the battery due to the front facing intake manifold, which is still being modified. I still haven't had it back, but I have bought cables. I bought different fittings for the cables. I bought the tool, the crimping tool for the cable, and I bought a couple of distribution blocks, and let me show you one of them. And I have already misplaced it. It's somewhere in this mess. But basically I ended up buying two different fuse blocks or distribution blocks for the power, and I have actually been working on this for about 2 weeks now, but I'm getting to a point where I actually have the power to some parts of the car. So let's get stuck into the video. So I'm going to try to find the cable. This whole place is a bit of a mess. I still have the 1UZ manual clutch, so if anyone wants that, please buy it. It will help me with my project. Plenty of Supra parts and wheel dollies and random crap that I probably thought I lost. But I think this is, this is the box with the BMW cable. So let's grab that. Looks like there's just only one cable. Is it two? What do we have? So we have one cable there, and this one is a bit nicer looking with grommets. So this one has the battery terminal, so that's good, and that is like a junction box, so I suppose I could possibly use that. I think that's the E90 cable, so I can run that through somewhere. I'm probably going to just see which one is longer and use that one, but this one with the factory shielding looks like a better option. But let me quickly measure the length of those two, and I'll probably just go with the longer one, because I can always quite easily just cut this off and put an original, not an original, just an aftermarket clamp, which is quite easy to do. Alternatively, I could just use that. So yeah, that's an option. I'm just going to go with the longest cable. That's going to be my easiest option. Right, so the cable length is actually very similar. So I just went with this one because I quite like the idea of just using the original, whatever they're called, terminals, I guess, and just using basically this part. So that should be fairly straightforward to do. I'll obviously have to clean up this oxidation. But what I found, which seems to be a good way to run it, basically there's a grommet inside of the archwell that goes inside. There's different various cables they're running through. So I'm going to try to maybe make this hole a little bit bigger and just run the positive cable through here and inside of the car. And I'm just going to double check inside of this mess. These are my side pods. So where are we coming out? Ooh, I cannot see anything. Oh, there it is. It's just there. So I can run it through there, basically from that grommet, and just run it underneath the carpet, I suppose. Maybe even here, or just maybe run it under the carpet, really, and then I can run it to the back. So that should be fairly straightforward. So I think I'm going to do this outside, not outside of the camera, but without the camera. Some O-rings. I'm just going to do it without the camera. It's an awkward place to be in, so I'm just going to show you the end result. So several things have been done since the last clip of me running the cable or telling you where I'm going to run the cable, and I have successfully run it through this opening here into a yellow grommet that I've showed in the previous clip, and it's all the way under the carpet here, under the trim, nicely and securely. I still have some spare length over here, so I need to pull that through somewhere, and obviously there's some spare length here using the original terminals from Sora, but we'll replace that with a fused connection. As for the grounds, I have found a ground cable with a terminal, so I've put that in. And then there's a nice time lapse that I'm going to show of me running this cable. So it's basically cable from the alternator, and I think there's another one that goes to the chassis or something like that, and it's nicely run under here and cable tied. You can't really see, but it's nicely tucked away, out of the way, so that's all good. It's running along here, and I have already sort of put it there. I need to remove these studs. I believe I don't need any fuses on here because everything else is actually fused separately. So for example, this fuse box, and that's what I'm currently wanting to do, is replace this short cable which went to the battery, and I need to run the longer one to here, but all that is actually fused. So for 120 amp fuse, which I just realized I need to replace some of these fuses because they look absolutely horrible. I think 3 of these are new, and these were in the car when I got it. Anyways, I do have another cable to run for the starter motor. Obviously that's a bit too long at the moment, so I need to trim that down. This is the tool I have. Pretty decent for the price of it. I think it was like $13.99 on eBay. The only limitation is it goes up to 50mm, which is not ideal because the battery terminal is actually bigger than that. However, it kind of serves its purpose. All the wires I have covered in this cloth-like tape. I absolutely love it. It's way better than the PVC tape or UPVC or whatever it's called. So yeah, that's my tape of choice. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to redo the I'm going to redo the wiring for the, or make another cable for the fuse box and power that up, and I'm going to do the one for the starter motor, and then I might be cheeky and try to crank this engine over because I actually never heard this engine run. I bought it trusting the seller that it actually runs. I think I've turned it over by hand a few times, but it would be nice to just hear some noise from the engine. Jump onto doing the fuse box there, the fuse box cable, and I think that will actually not give me anything at this moment in time. Probably just power up some of more interior stuff like the instrument cluster, because currently all the power is off to that by the looks of it. And time lapse. Cables are in place. I have run a new cable for the fuse box. Nothing actually extra came up on the dash. Well, actually the dash lights are on. I think they may have been on before. They're just quite dim, so that's another issue for another day. I spent quite a while looking for a little wire that I had for the starter motor. I've unplugged it a couple of days ago. I'm sure it was here, it's not here anymore. Not a huge issue. I spent some time trying to find the feed for the starter motor because I wanted to, crank the engine from the key. I cannot remember where the wires are, and I don't remember if it's coming from the interior. Again, issue for another day. But I have all the powers in place, and I have this cable. So what I'm going to do is just jump the starter motor essentially and apply the power to it directly. And there we have it. So the engine cranks. That's a huge win for me. Just to hear some noises. Probably shouldn't have left the paper towel in there. Strangely, it hasn't been spat out. I'd imagine that should have been due to compression and stuff, but that's an issue for another day. So let me quickly show you the summary of what I've done. So like I said, new power cable from the fuse box, and obviously I'm going to redo it, I'm going to wrap it in the same tape as the other cables and probably take this out and cable tie it all together so it's nice and clean. I don't actually need these cables, don't need this wiring, so I might try to hide it. I think actually I might be able to just run it there and leave it under the wheel arch. Actually a good idea, that. Quite like it. So I forgot to mention, I actually made this bracket to bolt this onto. It's a contraption of some flat steel and some brackets from, I have no idea what from. But basically I had to use a little bit of a stud there to space it out, and it's an interesting design. It works. Everything's sturdy on there. I will take it off and put a bit of a plastic protection basically between the distribution block and the bracket itself. And obviously I'm going to take these studs out and potentially upgrade these from I think like M5 to an M6 or an M8, and maybe a bit of a thicker copper there. But just as a proof of concept kind of thing, it works fine. The cable I took out from here is actually now my ground, at least temporarily. And so the engine is grounded, that's all good, but I might make a nicer cable, a bit longer. But for now, that will do. So essentially, power is there. I can say the battery has been relocated. So it has taken me 2 weeks to get to this point. I was working on another project, which I have some shorts about it, but I haven't actually filmed any full videos. I just can't be bothered, if I'm honest. And that is not a project, it's just I bought a flood damaged car, needs a new engine. I pulled the engine out, looking for another engine at the moment. And yeah, so I'm not filming that, but that engine is taking up some space here, so that's why the Supra had to move forward. So it's a bit tighter around the front. The good news, the engine M50 is gone. I got some gas for the welder, best thing ever that I've spent my money on, apart from Supra and 2GZ, and Link ECU, and many other things. But yeah, decent purchase. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. Thank you for watching if you got this far, and I shall see you in the next one. And I still need to think what I'm going to be actually doing.